Welcome to the unofficial best and worst of the Murph and Andy show for 2015. We're going to cover these in chronological order, starting with a clip from January 5th, where Murph and Andy discuss the Iowa football program after the Hawkeyes' blowout loss to Tennessee in the Tax Slayer Bowl.
So it is no fun to talk about this, about him, but,
it's not personal.
No,
the program looks stuck.
But good people,
it doesn't look like it's going to get back on track.
Good people need changes in their life also.
Yeah. Yep.
And it does seem at this point like things are not moving forward.
And he looks frustrated, Andy. He looks like he's exhausted.
He does.
And
looks
tired
like he's
of the criticism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's aware of the criticism. He's a proud man. He's frustrated. I think if you could put him in a complete honesty cone, he would say he doesn't quite have the players that they need to be competing. But they're also in a world now where the schedule has gotten easier, but the results have gotten worse.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he was at his most successful, they weren't avoiding as many good teams as they're avoiding now. And if you're a Hawkeye fan trying to get fired up for next year, what exactly are you getting fired up for? The home schedule is terrible. I mean, the games are not attractive. You're losing Sheriff and Wiseman and Kevontae Martin-Manley, Trinka Passat. I mean, you're Carl Davis. You're losing some of your most talented players. It just what are you selling?
You're in a similar position to Iowa State fans.
You're going to
you're selling tailgating.
Yeah.
You're selling a good time out.
Iowa State's going to at least sell the new look of the stadium.
Right.
Now, I realize that's not something that sustains through a season.
And Iowa is going to sell history.
Yeah, it's the time you have with your friends. A lot of people aren't going to give that up no matter how much Iowa loses or looks stale, because it's a great day to be with friends and family at Kinnick Stadium. But there's no doubt in my mind this is wearing Ferentz out. The decision to shield the quarterbacks from the media after the game, that's a terrible decision. I mean, the media... That's where fans hear from their players. Mm-hmm. All the people that make football possible, they hear from the players through the reporters. I realize the media is low-hanging fruit for fans to say, like, "Oh, I'm glad they didn't talk to me." Well, then you didn't hear from them either as a fan. I mean, they didn't call you and tell you what they thought of the game. I know why they shielded them. I know why they did it. They knew the questions were going to be about transfers for Beathard and who's going to play next year and that kind of thing. These are grown men now.
So what? That's what everybody wants to know. That's what we get paid to ask.
Beathard has a police escort out of the stadium? Come on.
It also says...
Looks ridiculous.
It also says it seems like it's kind of a fists-up position. Yeah. By the coaching staff. Like, we know all these people are questioning us from the outside, not just the media fans also, but we're going to fight you. We're not going to work with you here.
We're not going to make it easy.
Yeah, this is not a democracy here. We're going to rule this thing with an iron fist, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger the more you push it.
Well, to be fair, I don't know of anyone who was high on the Hawks at that point in time, but it's certainly fun to go back and listen to after 12-0. Next up, we have a memorable interview with Beth Murphy. If you heard it live, you probably haven't forgotten it. If you haven't heard it, here you go.
Let's go ahead and put Beth Murphy through, though. So she's on the show here. Beth, you're the president of the Wrigley Field Rooftop Association.
Well, actually, I'm not. But
you were.
I do have a rooftop. No, I wasn't. I was the spokesperson for the rooftop.
You were the spokesperson for the Rooftop Association. Okay. My bad there. Now, so the Cubs don't have to halt construction on the video board that will block the views of the rooftop clubs. So says a federal judge ruling just yesterday. I know that you weren't in on that lawsuit at all, but what is the feeling around there? This is going to go on, and it's all settled and done with, right?
Yeah, I think the feeling was it was sort of inevitable. I think the lawsuit came a little late.
Right. It seemed like the lawsuit was going on, and meanwhile we're seeing pictures of this nearly complete video board.
Right. The video board in left field is complete. It was just on yesterday.
Okay, so speaking for the Rooftop Association, are people there upset about this, or are they just going to accept this and move on with this highly anticipated baseball season?
Well, there's very different interests in the Rooftop Association. Some of the rooftops have already sold to the Cubs. So,
and I know the Cubs. With some of these, they did not place the video boards and obstructions in front of those particular rooftops that they own. Is that true?
Actually, since right field's not completed, I don't really know where the signs are going. It's a little hard to tell where signs are going and how they're going to impact the different buildings.
Well, how do you think it all looks?
It looks like a construction site. I mean, it's what Jason Hamill said it looked like Baghdad yesterday. I think that's a little harsh, but it's quite messy. It's hard to get around. The streets are closed. The bleachers aren't there. There is some infrastructure going up, but basically it's not nearly complete.
Does everybody kind of they get, though, that eventually this is all going to be very nice, or is there some pessimism there?
Well, I hear various things. I think there's some people that are happy for the change, and I hear a lot of negative about it.
Okay.
The bleachers were just completed in 2005, 2006. They opened new bleachers then. So they started on the newest part of the ballpark.
Okay, so do you see this? Is this just a matter of these business owners being upset that you guys aren't going to be able to make money off your patrons who can see the ballpark for free anymore, or is there really?
What do you mean by see the ballpark for free? We have a contract with the Cubs.
Yeah, you had a contract with the Cubs, but you were...
We didn't have. We have.
Right, okay, go ahead.
17% of our gross to the Cubs.
Right. Is that contract null and void now, or is it still going?
No, it's still going. I paid them last December 15th.
Okay, so you sell tickets to the people there.
Right. Right. We're not obstructive at the moment. I don't know what our view will be going forward. It might be all right. I don't know about each individual rooftop. I know there will be obstruction.
Well, we're talking to Beth Murphy, spokesperson for the Rooftop Association around Wrigley Field on 1460 KXNO. Beth, the video board, at least in terms of the ruling in court this week, it's up. It's functioning already. They're working on the bleachers at this point, or beginning to. What is the best possible outcome moving ahead for your group? Is there anything? Is it about sidewalks and traffic flow and where people have access to other things beyond the sight lines of the rooftops? What's the best outcome for you guys?
Well, I guess the best possible outcome for me personally is that the Cubs would do well, and our business would improve at Murphy's Bleachers. We are still selling rooftops, so I don't know how people are going to feel about the rooftop. I don't know whether we're going to be obstructed. You are talking about the video board, the Jumbotron in left field.
Right.
The lawsuit's about the one in right field. That is not built.
Okay, and there's a skeleton there's a scaffolding of something that's going up there.
Of something for sure, and there's a
right. I saw the pictures you sent.
Sign. Yeah, the pictures I sent were of the video board in left field that is completed.
Okay.
The only thing that's complete here is the Jumbotron. That is the only thing that's done.
Okay, so are you worried that this is not going to improve the overall character of the Wrigleyville area, that it won't serve the best interest of the Cubs, or do you think that eventually this could work out and benefit everybody?
Well, possibly eventually people will get used to it. I don't think the appeal of Wrigley Field would be a Jumbotron. That would not have been a direction I would have taken.
Okay.
Well, Beth, do you think, stepping away from the construction and the business piece of this for a second, just through your business alone, you interact with so many Cubs fans. What's your gauge on the excitement with Joe Madden as manager, John Lester, Chris Bryant eventually is going to end up in Chicago? Does this feel different than other seasons with those three names alone, or what are you hearing from fans?
Well, it feels different from the last few years. It doesn't feel different from other seasons. I mean, people are generally excited when the season is new.
Okay.
I mean,
Cubs
it feels
fans, they love
different
it.
from last year. I'll give you that.
I guess I thought this felt a little bit different.
Yeah, I did too. All the Cubs fans I know.
I'm saying it feels different from last year and the year before, but there was certainly tons of excitement for the 2004 season, for example, for the 2008 season, 2007. There was tons of excitement. People loved Soriano when we traded for him in 2007.
Oh, yeah, they were all about it then. Yeah, at first it was a great deal.
Maybe didn't love the contract after a few years.
Well, after a few years, at first it was great.
Nobody likes anybody here after a few years. So
wow. There's some Chicago honesty there.
From now.
Does it not feel, though, that they have taken a significant stride, though, maybe something that you have not felt before with the front office and Joe Madden and genuinely building up the farm system, not just buying a bunch of high-priced free agents, but really building up the whole system?
As I said, I have felt this excitement before with the Cubs. I think people are excited about this year, and I think a lot of people think maybe they have built an infrastructure, let's use a construction term, that will serve them for years to come, and they'll be good for years and years.
Well, Beth, I need to be there on May 15th. Can you just keep the old style cold? Can I at least ask that? Can I make one request? Just keep it cold.
We still have old style. They don't have it at the ballpark, but we do have old
what? Style. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's a lot of changes.
Beth, thanks so much. I know you got a busy weekend ahead here. Thanks so much for taking a few minutes of your time to correct us and let us know what's going on. Yeah. Well, I think so. We'll check back with you later on in the year and see how it goes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thanks.
There's Beth Murphy. If you've ever been to Wrigleyville, you've probably seen Murphy's rooftop. It is right there.
Well, there's not much more I can say about that, so let's move on. This is Murph and Andy discussing the 2015 Cubs in early May. Cardinals fan Andy was right on with this one, while Murph hadn't quite bought into the Cubs' hype just yet.
Andy, the Cardinals are off to the best start in franchise history at 20-6, and they hold a 6.5 game lead over the Cubs, who are 1 game over 500. It's very early in the season, but do you still expect the Cubs to compete with the Cardinals for the division?
I do. I mean, I expect them to get better. Let's put it that way. I think they'll make better contact. I think the young players will continue to grow. I don't know that all of them will pan out this year, but they have so many of them. The chances are just way too good that they will figure some more things out. I mean, you've seen some flashes this year, and when those flashes get more and more frequent, you'll see them improve. They're going through a little bit of a slump right now, but they built sizable leads against the Cardinals in the last 2 games. Holding on to those kind of leads is kind of the hallmark of a more experienced team that looks like more of a serious contender. And I think they'll do more of that later on in the season. And yeah, I think they will compete. I think the Cardinals will fall back to earth, and the Cubs will get a little bit better. So yeah, I think they can still be counted on to be a contender.
No, I don't think they'll compete with the Cardinals for the division title. I think they'll compete for a wild card. I think that there's enough promise and potential there. With a team this young, it's going to be up and down all season long, and you hope for more ups than downs and to get above 500 and be somewhere near the wild card. But I think the Cardinals will win the division comfortably.
We move on now to a much more innocent time. Mid-May, when the Hoiberg rumblings started up. At first we all thought it was just another rumor and Fred would be back. Unfortunately, we may have been a bit naive, and Fred did end up leaving for the Chicago Bulls a month and a half later.
The Murph and Andy Show, 1460 KXNO, ended hour 1 talking about something coming out in the Cyclone Tour. Not I think, anything new or startling. It's the narrative from, well, pretty much the whole time Fred Hoiberg's been the head coach at Iowa State, and that is that it's, according to Jamie Pollard, not a question of if Fred Hoiberg will coach in the NBA someday, but when. And it's a goal of his. Pollard, on our show and to other people, including the tour today, has always been upfront about Hoiberg not ever saying any differently than it is a goal of his to coach in the NBA. He's hopefully had the last open heart surgery he needs to have. He's back at work. He's recuperating. He has what should be a very good team coming back to Iowa State, but he will have teams checking to see if he wants to coach in the NBA. The New Orleans job came open today. If I were a Cyclone fan, even though there's a lot of talent with the Pelicans, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I think the spot everybody looks at, and with reasons we all understand, is the Bulls.
Yeah, boy, this is the kind of thing that leads to a defeatist attitude among Cyclone fans. I'm not saying that, or really among any fans from teams of this state. I mean, you just feel like even when you have the coach, like the one coach in America that doesn't seem like he would ever leave here for another college job, you still have to worry because he has these ties to the NBA. Like you're never completely safe. That even when you feel like you finally found the one thing that is absolutely yours and should be yours forever, there is still a real reason to worry. He just can't ever let your guard down.
Well, there's a couple of
That's hard.
There's a couple of factors here. The recruiting is a grind. Recruiting wears Fred out. It wears many coaches out. There are a few people that delight and love it, but it is a grind, and that is something that Iowa State can't change or do anything about. The thing Iowa State can likely do something about, and probably should, even though I know Iowa State has already done this recently, is I believe Fred Hoiberg is now the 8th highest paid coach in the Big 12. That's 8 out of 10 teams. That is that's not where he should be. Mm-hmm. He should be in the top 3. Some would argue the top 2. He certainly shouldn't be making less money than Shaka Smart. Mm-hmm. Texas has more resources, but if you're going to continue to put Fred in the try to keep him as much as you can position that Jamie Pollard has always said Iowa State will try to put him in, you have to try to find where that ceiling is, because even though basketball doesn't register on the level of relevance the way football does when it comes to the finances of an athletics program, Fred Hoiberg is the most valuable athletics asset that Iowa State has. You have to do everything you can, as Pollard has always said he will, to make sure you've done everything you can to make him pause before taking any opportunity to go anywhere else. You probably need to bump his salary up again.
Now we shine a spotlight on Scott Sipker, which I'm sure he'll love. Here we have his preseason predictions for the Iowa and Iowa State football teams. Folks, there's a reason so many people are willing to bet their house when this man speaks.
All right, go ahead, Scott. Let's hear your predictions. Scott Sipker.
Okay. So if you're interested, I can go game by game. But, okay, so for Iowa State, we'll start there. I have them at 3 wins.
3 wins. What are the 3 wins would be the easiest way to do this?
UNI, Kansas, and I think with the writing on the wall, at the very end of the year, the last game, they'll beat West Virginia because everybody will know, and they'll have, rally around Paul Rhodes, and then they'll beat West Virginia.
You're saying everybody will know what?
That Paul Rhodes is not coming back.
You think they're going to know that? That's the most significant prediction you just made, that at the end of the season, everybody is going to know?
Yeah, they'll be 2-8 going into West Virginia.
Okay.
And everybody's going to know, we're not sticking around for this. And because that'll be
players show up and play real hard for
them. They're
going
to play really hard for him. And
so the Dan McCarney game.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there you go.
It's kind of a morbid prediction there.
Jeez.
Well,
this is the problem with giving the win-loss predictions for teams that you don't think much of.
Now, I'll go optimistic.
You're such a Hawkeye.
Out.
Oh, that's right. You went to Iowa State. Never mind.
Optimistic fan, I'm going to say 5 wins. So realistic, I'm predicting 3, but I'm going to say 5 as a fan.
Man, where's the bar when optimistic fan is? I'm going to pie in the sky 5 and 7.
But they've had such bad luck, right? That has to turn around at some point.
Everything goes right. If we miss a bowl game by 2 wins.
Yeah, if it just all goes perfectly and everything goes our way, only 7 losses.
You negative Nancy, you. Okay.
Jeez, Scott Sipker. Again, this is Scott Sipker, Iowa State alum.
And football picking expert, of course.
Yes, Mr. Betcha House.
Okay, so Iowa. I have to say I really love the changes that seem to be happening, and I really feel like they've lost some close games. Those things need to turn around. Their schedule is weak. Okay, all that considered, I just feel like this is going to be a special season, and I think Iowa's going to win 10 games.
Whoa.
Boom!
Whoa.
Wow. Wait, hang on. You just said 10 wins for
10
Iowa?
wins, regular season.
I can't believe you're such a Hawkeye. Jeez, listen to these predictions. Did you just go 3-9 and 10-2?
Yep. I think they'll lose at Wisconsin, which they can still win that game. It's a new coach. And that they'll lose at Nebraska.
When you
which they
say
can
all
also
of
be
the
that.
changes, what do you mean?
The fact that
you mean quarterback?
Well, quarterback, yes.
What do you mean, the weight room?
I think the changes there's a new enthusiasm. Ultimately, this is a feeling
out of what,
and
the
emotion.
marketing department?
The whole situation with Ferentz being really at the first point where it feels like he's totally backed in the corner, and I'm hoping, that they're really going to be pushing the envelope a little bit, as we see with these little, like the videos. I mean, and the fact that he had a press conference way, way early to name it feels like he knows this is it, and I have to make some changes.
I hear you there.
Okay, so that's your realistic thing. What's your optimistic pick for Iowa?
They can win them all then. 12-0, optimistic.
Right,
they really can beat everybody on the schedule.
Yes, the schedule, when you look at it, you can't believe how accommodating it is.
If they were playing the Big 12 schedule, the 10 wins is off the table. But really, Illinois State, Iowa State, Pitt, North Texas, they win all those games. Wisconsin, again, they have a new coach. You can win that game. Illinois, as we know today. Northwestern, come on. Maryland, easy. Indiana, Minnesota, Purdue, and then at Nebraska, which has a new coach. They really could.
Any team that has a new coach is vulnerable.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, the Murph and Andy Show, 1460 KXNO. Scott Sipker, at Scott Sipker on Twitter. His predictions, 3-9 for Iowa State, 5-7 if every ball bounces Iowa State's way. The Hawkeyes, 10-2, the realistic pick there. Everything goes right, 12-0. Again, Iowa State alum Scott Sipker with that prediction.
I can't wait to be proven right.
And proven right he was. Now, to the other side of that coin, Biff Hammer shares his thoughts on the first game for Iowa and Iowa State this football season. You can't get them all, Biff.
Biff Hammer's in studio. Biff, let's move away from fantasy sports and get right to it here.
Yes.
You've been accurate on this show. You've done really well with your picks, and some of the time it's been forecasts that some of us weren't ready to handle, and you ended up being proven right. So it's FCS Saturday. Iowa and Iowa State both hosting at home. Stakes high for both teams. Fan bases ready to see a winning football game and believing in the season. What's going to happen?
I got a 100% bad feeling inside of me that one of the two is going to lose, and a 60% feeling that maybe both of them are going to lose. Iowa State.
Sounds like you think both of them are going to
I
lose.
could
then.
so see it happening. Do you know what the lines are? It's hard to find lines on Division I versus FCS guys.
Is it 8 and 9? Is that
It's
what
8 and
is?
9.
It's 8 and 9, yes. Now, I find these odds crazy, thinking about the fact that Iowa State has lost at home back-to-back season openers to FCS schools, and one of them they lost to. They're hosting this Saturday, and they don't have a wealth of talent back. And Iowa always seems to stumble out of the gate to start the season. They hung on last year, held off UNI by 8. 2 years ago, they were beaten at home by Northern Illinois. The year before that, they went to Soldier Field and eked out a 1-point win over Northern Illinois. These are two teams that have so many question marks right now, and they're playing two FCS teams that are perennial powers. Illinois State, Iowa has the much rougher game, in my opinion. Illinois State, which we talked about earlier this summer, has Trey Roberson at quarterback, the former Indiana guy who tore up the Big Ten until he broke his leg and was never heard from again. Well, here he is, and all of his speed coming back. They were the national runners-up. They lost to the Bison late. These are two damningly, ridiculously difficult preseason FCS openers for these two schools. What would the impact of two losses be?
Oh, gosh. The darkest day in the history of non-death-related sports in the state of Iowa.
I expect both Northern Iowa and
With
Illinois
apologies
State.
to UNI fans.
Yeah, I expect. Listen, Buffy's UNI grad. I'm in trouble here. So when I get home, but both UNI and Illinois State, I suspect on Saturday are going to come out and try and smack their big brothers in the mouth right away to try and get them on their heels. I mean, if I'm Iowa State and I'm lining up to play, I'm terrified this is going to happen again. All it's going to take is for a couple of bad breaks and my head's going to start hanging. It's going to be a bad deal. Iowa doesn't know what they have. They're still Iowa. They're going to take the field in the swarm. But if Trey Roberson goes 70 yards and they take a 7-0 lead, all bets are off, literally.
All right, Biff, enough of the hypotheticals, because AD, as always, is rolling the digicart. Let's get it on the record here. What is going to happen Saturday? Make some picks, man. Come in here with some balls.
Okay. Wow. I don't do that. Okay, you got me.
And this time, don't mince words.
This time,
let us know how you feel.
Hey, don't try to make everything rainbow, sunshines, and unicorn, Biff. Bring it.
I think Northern Iowa wins. Less than 7 points. I think Illinois State wins.
You know what the major
less than
problem
7
is
points.
here is that he has been way too good at this in the past.
In our last clip, we revisit the Cubs on the eve of their wild card game with the Pirates. It's easy to forget just how much doubt still remained, and I think some Cub fans might still disagree with Andy, fan of the 11-time champion Cardinals, that you feel great for, quote, a couple days, unquote, after winning a World Series.
How far do you think the Cubs go this postseason? Cubs lose the wild card game. They lose the NLDS versus the Cardinals. They lose in the NLCS. They lose the World Series, or they win it all.
The word "lose" is in there for a lot for a team that would be doing really well to keep advancing. But I get the point. I think they're going to win tonight. There's no way. This is a really good matchup too with the Pirates. The Pirates were the Cubs 2 years ago. In 2013, this was the Cubs, the young team that playing really well and with a lot of excitement. I do think the Cubs will win tonight. I think they'll lose the NLDS to the Cardinals.
I don't even want to guess. I have no idea.
Well,
I really have no idea.
Yeah,
Garrett Cole is great, and he's hot right now too.
Yeah, and our friend of the show, Will Leach, he broke this game down and picked the Pirates. He broke it down and picked the Pirates tonight.
He is a Cardinal fan, and most Cardinal fans are hoping that the Pirates win this game.
Yeah, are you hoping for the Pirates in the NLDS?
I mean, it's narrow. The difference between the two is, I think, one game. I think the Cardinals are one game better against, and I'm not even sure which team they're better against. It might be the Cubs. I think one team they're 10-8, and the other they're 11-9. So it's really close. But the Cubs are red hot right now. They are, and they're the sentimental team that everybody else on the outside will jump on their bandwagon, and then all of a sudden every team that plays the Cubs will be like the bad guys.
Well,
they're the fresh face. They're the Royals of last year.
I would like to ask you to think about the 11 World Series that the Cardinals have won, and 2 or 3 recently? How many recently?
2.
Okay, 2
Depending
recently.
on what you think is recent. 2.
Last 15 years.
Been to many World Series.
Okay, so I'd like you to think about all of that, and just think about maybe not your personal fandom as much as think about this show. If we get Cubs Cardinals, it's a much better week next week for this show. Cardinals
Everybody
Pirates
except for you.
Cardinals Pirates. We're right. Most people are right back into football, except Cardinals and Pirates fans.
Do you think I could really have that type of mind control over myself?
I do.
You do.
I do. Just think of you've already been to the mountaintop.
He just doesn't know.
He just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it.
Well, it was a fun day for me because my son Colin he's a big Cubs fan as kids go. He's got all the Cubs gear. He's got the Cubs stuffed animals. He's got Cubbies. All the stuff hanging on his wall is Cub stuff. And he can't remember the Cubs being in the playoffs. So he went to school today just decked in Cub stuff. And he's taking the night off from Wednesday church. He's not going to his church class tonight. He's going to watch the game because he wants to, in his mind, God should allow this. God should be okay with him watching a playoff game when one only comes every 7 years or so. So he's excited, and that's fun. And I know, joking aside, I know you feel this way sometimes when it doesn't hit right on your doorstep with the Cardinals, but you have many friends who are such big Cubs fans that you could find some measure of happiness for them if the Cubs do well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, if I step back and look at this objectively, I mean, even forget the fact that there are so many Cubs fans here. I mean, it's an interesting baseball team, and it would be an interesting postseason run to watch them. I could think of a number of really cool World Series that feature them. And yeah, I don't have any reason to be jealous. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think everybody else has won. May as well welcome the Cubs. The Cubs should come in and win and get this over with.
Get in line behind the Marlins.
Well, the Marlins won twice.
I know, it's what I'm saying. The Cubs could win this year, and you'd be like, well,
everybody else has won. Everybody but them. I mean, let them win and get this over. I mean, because first of all, I mean, it's become something bigger than it really is. This quest to win a World Series, like the World Series is landing on Mars.
I think it's more likely we land on Mars.
Well, that's what I just saw The Martian. It has been built up into this thing that it's just not. I mean, winning a World Series is really cool. It is, and you feel great for a couple days, but it doesn't change your life. And I think I worry. I have some friends who I think believe that it is going to change their life, like really change their life, like. Might give them. They might grow 2 inches or something, like physically change their life.
I think it is possible.
Well, there you have it. Some of the best and the worst from the Murph and Andy Show in 2015. I hope you enjoyed. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.